Back again, another episode of A Muslim and an Atheist Breaks Bread. Listen, I'm just a Brit trying to figure out what's going on in the world today, because to me right now, we are living in unprecedented times. I keep saying it. It's the death of democracy that we are witnessing. It's exciting. I'm not gonna lie, it's exciting because I don't know where the chips are gonna fall. Like, you know, we've had liberalism, that's dead, done. That dance has been done a long time. We've had totalitarianism, we've had all this stuff. So I think right now, we are in crazy times. So, right just as I was uploading this, I've just done a video with Doug Ford, who is the Premier for Ontario, which is where a lot of US uranium comes from. It comes down through Canada into the US. Now, I'm following this because, as I said, I've seen America try to extortion tactics with Ukraine, and it's worked. Ukraine buckled and fell. So they thought, let's try it with some other people. So now they've moved to Mexico, Canada, even the US, France, they're trying it. Mexico, Canada, China. Now, one people I'm going to tell you about, I'm waiting to see what they're going to do, is China. Because China are not to be ramped with. But Canada, for me, by far, have had the best responses because they knew their leverage. They know. Now, we have to remember that 75% of goods exported from Canada goes to the US. Now, they also have 50% of goods imported from the US. So there's a two-way street there. It's not just one way. That's what a working, functional relationship looks like. Now, again, I'm not an economist. I'm just a brother with an opinion. My opinion is when Trump's trying to slap these tariffs on people, he's just trying to put them under pressure. Now, if you stand up to a bully, what I was taught in school, the bully's probably going to leave you alone. So I've just seen breaking that Trudeau, bad man, I'm liking him more and more. I'm going to have to find out a bit more before I can endorse him. Can't really endorse a man who I've watched an hour of. But I'm liking what he's doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch him now, and we're going to see tariffs back down. Trump's back down, and apparently the tariffs have been removed from Canada. But again, it's because I say the way they dealt with it. Let's take a look.
By far, the most cowardly president we have ever had, who's pretending to be a tough guy. He has backed down.
Listen, most bullies you know in the world have been through something emotional in their past, hasn't it? So we have to take that into account. Like, really, they're bullying people because they probably used to get bullied, isn't it? That's the way this thing usually works. Now, people think Trump's a bad man. I had an argument with my brother about it the other day. Yeah, but he does what he says he's going to do. Don't do nothing. I keep telling people he don't do nothing. Huffs, puffs, don't do nothing, yeah? So, 24 hours he was giving it the big talk. Then you've got Prime Minister Trudeau come out talking about, yo, bro, we're not having it. Then you've got Doug Ford coming out saying, yo, we're not having it. Then you've got, I can't remember the lady's name, which is bad of me, coming out talking about, yo, listen, Tesla in Canada's dead. Less than 24 hours, they've come out with their leverage, talked about what they're going to do, how they're not standing for these extortionate mob-style tactics, and then they're going to come back. Let's see what Trump's come back with now. Less than 24 hours. Man's an idiot.
In his first presidency, and now in this one, more than any other president has done it. He backs down within a day of making decisions, pulls them back. Donald Trump backed down today, and no one was surprised. There are people who have to make their living based on knowing when Donald Trump is going to back down. They include the richest people in America and their day-to-day investment practitioners on Wall Street. Wall Street knows that Donald Trump is a pathological liar, which everyone knows. And Wall Street knows that Donald Trump doesn't understand anything about economics. Nothing. Wall Street has been listening to Donald Trump very carefully for years.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I've said this the whole time. I'm biased. I hate Donald Trump, and like I said to you, but again, I'm also not a party politics man. So there is some things that he says that I may agree with. But the one thing that I'm gonna say is like, I hold my hands to account. Yeah, I know a lot of these mainstream news people are just out to get Trump. So I do have to throw that in there as well. So I'm leaning into my own bias here. So it's not even unconscious bias. I'm leaning into my own bias. So let's have a look. Let's take a look, as I said.
They've never once heard Donald Trump accurately describe what a tariff is. The truth of tariffs forced Donald Trump to back down today. Wall Street knows that Donald Trump lies every time he talks about tariffs. Everyone on Wall Street knows that no foreign country has ever paid an American tariff and never will. Wall Street knows the only people who pay Trump tariffs are people in the United States who pay for imported goods, like, say, coffee. Unless you're one of the lucky ones who has tasted the very small batch and very expensive coffee grown in Hawaii. Not one drop of coffee you have swallowed in your life came from an American coffee bean. Every ounce of coffee you have swallowed came from another country. According to Donald Trump, the United States of America should be buying nothing from other countries. Tell that to the 211,000 people working in Starbucks just in the United States and the 361,000 people working in Starbucks worldwide.
Do you know what's crazy about this as well? To be honest with you, because essentially this is all just coming down to American jobs. Donald Trump wants to bring back American jobs, so he's trying to slap tariffs on everyone. And I actually think a part of the reason he's doing that as well is, but remember as well, like your man just said, who's actually paying these tariffs? So you're an American-owned company, right? So you own a company in America, but let's say you're importing materials for your company to sell in America. So you're that company in America, we're gonna slap you with a tariff because you're using imported goods. So first of all, the infrastructure for your company to even run in the US may not be there. The price point may not be there. So let's say you do find someone that is able to give you the materials you need for you to run your business. Now that it's in America, like, the cost of it goes up. So now the cost is up. What then happens is the cost of living goes up because the price of everything goes up. Then you have to start laying people off from their jobs to cover the cost of you being able to maintain your business. Because ultimately your business is for you to feed your family. You need employees, but ultimately you're there to feed your family. So when you have to start sacking people because you're like, do you know what? These tariffs mean that the price of the materials has gone up, so we can't afford to keep you, and you on. That's the impact it's gonna have. So we just have to remember that when we're talking about tariffs. It's not just about, people think, oh, Americans are gonna be getting loads of money. No, you're charging Americans for importing, which just means that cost is gonna get offset if they still need to import in the short term. So that's gonna be you, my friend. I'm sorry to have to tell you that. You, or someone's gonna be losing a job, or countries are gonna opt not to do it anymore, and they're not gonna trade with America, so then you're not gonna be able to import, or even export. Imagine if you're exporting stuff, crazy. Now everyone's slapping tariffs on that. Don't make sense.
The coffee economy in the United States employs literally millions of people, all based on a product imported from other countries, imported from Africa, imported from South America. And this country could not survive a day without coffee, and we all know it. I could go on and on, listing examples of why international trade is a good and necessary thing. That is a fact that has been known.
Funny fact for you here, coffee. The first drive-thrus that were ever made were coffee drive-thrus on the Nile. Just a funny fact. On the Nile, remember that, from Egypt.
Since before the American colonies were settled, but Donald Trump doesn't know it, and so Wall Street knows that their job is to teach their slowest student, Donald Trump, whenever he goes dangerously too far on his illegal Trump tariff crusade. And the Trump tariffs are illegal because the Constitution puts Congress exclusively in charge of tariffs, just as Congress is exclusively in charge of income tax rates, but a provision that entered federal law during the Cold War provided the president with the authority to change individual tariffs only for national security reasons. The intention at the time was to allow the president to personally change tariffs in the event of war. No one writing that law thought that such tariffs could ever, under any circumstances, be imposed by the President of the United States on the most faithful and peaceful and supportive neighbor any country in the world has ever had, Canada. And so lost in the noise about the Trump tariffs is that very simple fact that they are illegal because none of them have the slightest relationship to national security. Wall Street did its job today and forced Donald Trump to back down from the most destructive aspect of his demented and illegal Trump tariffs on Canada and Mexico, the tariffs on automobiles entering the United States from Canada and Mexico. After 24 hours of that tariff being in place and probably not actually being paid by anyone, Donald Trump backed down. Really backed down. And it was a classic Trump reversal, which he pretends is not a reversal, saying that he's going to pause the tariff on automobiles from Canada and Mexico for 30 days. And he will pause it again. He will back down again. That tariff will probably never go into effect because Donald Trump will back down, because Wall Street will once again convince Donald Trump of just how insane that idea is. Wall Street does that by reacting defensively to the Trump tariffs, which means a dramatic drop in the stock market as investors seek safety in the middle of the Trump economic chaos, and they sell off stocks. That's what happened the first time Donald Trump had his tariffs ready to go against Canada and Mexico. The stock market collapsed, and Donald Trump was able to withstand about 2 hours of the collapse the day before the tariffs were supposed to go into effect. And by lunchtime then, Donald Trump announced that he was going to pause those tariffs. He wasn't going to put them into effect the next day. He would pause them for 30 days. And then the stock market started to work its way back up the next day. This time around, the stock market thought they'd figured out Donald Trump. They believed Donald Trump would pull the same trick. He'd lie and threaten the tariffs, and then at the last minute, pause the tariffs. He would not impose the tariffs. But this time they guessed wrong. And the most economically ignorant president in history actually did impose those tariffs yesterday. And once again, the stock market crashed. In the middle of the trading day today, when the White House announced that Donald Trump would pause the tariffs on automobiles for 30 days, the stock market digested that news and started to go back up, to exactly no one's surprise. One of Donald Trump's favorite lies until last night was that the stock market just loves him and that the stock market was never higher than under his first Trump presidency. And that was a lie, of course. The stock market was higher under President Biden than it was under Donald Trump's presidency. In fact, the highest point the stock market has ever reached in its history was in Joe Biden's last month of the presidency. And last night, Donald Trump spoke for 99 minutes in an incoherent, rambling, lifeless, exhausting presentation with nothing designed to appeal to anyone who hasn't already voted for him. Presidents use addresses to Congress and to the nation to try to reach out to voters that they don't already have on their side. Not Donald Trump. In those rambling 99 minutes, Donald Trump never said the words stock market. When is the last time you heard Donald Trump give a long, self-congratulatory speech without telling you how great the Trump stock market is doing? Donald Trump was appearing, giving that speech on the night of a stock market crash caused by him, and he didn't say a word about the stock market in his address to Congress and the country, a country that was worried about the stock market. Not one word. The stock market crash was created by 1 day of the Trump tariffs being in effect. 1 day. 1 day. And at the end of that 1 day, Donald Trump stood up in the House of Representatives and addressed the Congress and the nation, and he did not say one word about what happened that day because of his tariffs. He said nothing about the tariffs that went into effect yesterday. Nothing about that in his speech. The single biggest news of the day worldwide, created by Donald Trump, the Trump tariffs, not mentioned by Donald Trump in that speech last night because he was afraid of what he did. He was standing there last night terrified of what he did.
And so we should be. Like I keep saying, there's only one way to handle the bully, and it's to stand up to him. Again, I can't endorse Trudeau or Ford, but because I don't know enough about them and their politics in Canada. But the way they've handled this situation has been bang on. Like, whether these tariffs have just been suspended for 30 days or whatever, they've been suspended for now, and we'll see what happens. But I bet you what will happen is we'll just turn our attention back to Ukraine, and then he'll try and show how powerful America are through bullying, extortion tactics with Ukraine. But this, your man's right here, Lawrence, big man Lawrence. The stock market knows Trump's a liar. Facts.
With those crazy tariffs. He was so afraid of what he did that he literally did not know what to say about it last night. He talked about tariffs generally, but not about what he had actually done yesterday. And here's one of the things he said about tariffs that actually proved his tariffs are illegal.
Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much.
It's supposed to be about national security. His tariffs are legally supposed to be about national security. That's the only way they can be legal. Donald Trump is too ignorant, of course, to know that he was admitting in that statement that his tariffs are illegal. And of course, by a little disturbance, he meant a stock market crash and increasing prices here in the United States. The biggest problem Donald Trump ran into yesterday when he finally decided to go forward with the stupidest economic idea ever advanced by a president of the United States is that the world stopped listening to Donald Trump about tariffs yesterday. And they started listening to someone else who actually knows what he's talking about.
The United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally.
Okay, so I've just done a video on this, which is probably going to go up, not maybe even before this video, maybe after. But this is the response I was talking about, where Trudeau showed, like, you know, he actually had some gusto about him and could handle the situation. But I'm not going to re-watch this because we've already done so. I'm going to cut this part out for you guys, and then we're going to flex it to back down here.
Trump apparently decided to play with tariffs and earn himself a prediction of a Great Depression from the Wall Street Journal. Republicans in the House of Representatives failed today in their desperate attempts to humiliate a group of Democratic mayors who they accused of not being eager enough to help Donald Trump deport people. If you watch the hearing, other than the embarrassing presence of New York's Mayor Eric Adams, who is still under indictment for bribery and was treated like a visiting dignitary by the Republicans, what was actually on display was an astonishing demonstration of Democratic Party competence and political talent in the city halls of Chicago, Denver, and Boston. Boston's Mayor Michelle Wu, who is herself a daughter of immigrants, was nursing her infant baby daughter during recesses in the hearing. She said this when she was asked about Trump's so-called border czar, threatening to bring what he called hell to Boston.
Shame on him for lying about my city, for having the nerve to insult our police commissioner who has overseen the safest Boston's been in anyone's lifetime. Bring him here under oath and let's ask him some questions. I am here to make sure that the city of Boston is safe Others may want to bring hell. We are here to bring peace to cities everywhere. Because our gun laws are the strongest in the nation, because our officers have built relationships over decades, and because all of our residents can trust that when they call 911 in the event of an emergency or to report a crime, help will come. This federal administration's approach is undermining that trust. This federal administration is making hardworking, tax-paying, God-fearing residents afraid to live their lives. A city that's scared is not a city that's safe. A land ruled by fear is not the land of the free. We are the cradle of democracy and the city of champions. We are all of these things not in spite of our immigrants, but because of them. The false narrative is that immigrants in general are criminals, or immigrants in general cause all sorts of danger and harm. That is actually what is undermining safety in our communities. If you wanted to make us safe, pass gun reforms. Stop cutting Medicaid. Stop cutting cancer research. Stop cutting funds for veterans. That is what will make our city safe.
Stop cutting funds for schooling as well. Pussy, yo.
Like so many Boston Catholics, she had her ashes on her forehead today on Ash Wednesday. There were some words that were very conspicuously absent from Donald Trump's marathon speech last night, words like Medicare and Medicaid. Here's the last thing Donald Trump said about that before last night's speech.
Social Security won't be touched, other than it's fraud or something. We're going to find it's going to be strengthened, but it won't be touched. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
Won't be touched. Won't be touched. He didn't say that last night. He said Social Security is full of fraud, which is a lie, and he literally never mentioned the existence of Medicare or Medicaid. Exactly a year ago in that same chamber, the President of the United States did mention Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security in a way that infuriated the Republicans sitting there, President Joe Biden, in the best televised State of the Union address I have ever seen, provoked loud objections from the Republicans when he accused them of wanting to cut those programs.
Many of my friends on the other side of aisle.
I'm not gonna lie, I can't take Biden seriously. I cannot take my man seriously. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna wrap that video up there because we're talking about real American day-to-day issues when we're talking about immigration. I wanna know about the world politics side of what's going through Trump's head. But as we just seen it, Trump backs down over tariffs in less than 24 hours. I gotta get this video up right now in the next hour because it's pertinent. But I just want to say to people, like, we really have to think about how we want the world to be run, essentially, when it comes to voting. We can vote in anger. We can say, you know, they've not done this, so I'm going to vote for this. But I think we actually have to start using our cognitive ability, like, and not just basing things on party politics, xenophobia. And this goes both ways. I think the left is too left and the right is too right at the moment. We're polarized, and polarization is not good. I think the world's upside down. What you're seeing, the things we're promoting, madness, decadence. We're in a state of decadence. You're watching rich people get rich and blatantly telling you they're getting rich while you're getting poorer. And then they're going to get richer and tell you they're going to make you richer. Doesn't work like that, I'm afraid. I'm sorry to tell everyone. You know, you're in the land of the free. Like, there are opportunities still out there today. You just got to take them. So I promise you now, we are witnessing the fall of democracy. And as I said, for me, I'm just someone with an opinion. So it's exciting times, and I'm just going to document it as I watch it and tell you my opinion on it. If you like that, like, comment, subscribe, share, all of that. It don't cost nothing, it's free. Well, and also I'm a Brit talking on US politics. Madman. We out. Peace.